with like the whole origin of this session is mainly to deal with the two Juniper collections. One collection has historically been maintained directly by Juniper, so that's juniper.device, and the Juniper networks.junos has been maintained by Red Hat. So really the genesis of this was an idea to like merge the two together, but it's going to take some steps to do that. So that's what we're going to talk about today is the current state of both of those collections of modules and how you can use them today and how you can also deal with the changes in the next couple of years in order to prepare for minimizing the amount of like refactoring and things in your playbook if you're building a lot of content around Juniper. So hopefully it just gives everybody a heads up and a plan to start thinking about this, and also to start leveraging the newer collections and moving away from the legacy versions of this predating this. So when we talk about the target, again, it's more for maintaining this content. So Juniper, just like many of the other vendors in our Ansible ecosystem, would maintain a single collection that includes collectively all of the content minus things that were redundant. So some collections were, or both of the collections may have had some modules that did similar things. So those would become, minimized to use like the best of whatever module out of that. And then many of the modules were very unique for either one of the collections. So you kind of get the best of both worlds as they're bringing this target together. And it just helps them maintain it and move quicker with the ability to add new features and things of that nature as they move forward. So really where we all are today is here. Recently in June, they released the juniper.device version 2. And that, if you looked at it, the previous release, you would see there was a certain amount of modules in that Juniper device collection. And that significantly increased in 2.0 because they added all of the Juniper networks modules into the Juniper device. So that one went up significantly. And then the Juniper networks didn't have any additions. It's really just temporarily maintaining the modules that were previously a part of that collection. And then moving forward, there's no new features or any additions to the Juniper networks collection. So in version 11, that's the one that I'm using today. So I'm using version 2.0 for the Juniper.device and version 11 for the Juniper networks, because there's no like requirement to say you have to use this Juniper.device today. You can continue to use the Juniper networks and it will work the same as it did previously. It's just there's not going to be anything new added to it. So it's just kind of a stale collection or an archive of that collection. So that's where we're like moving into this phase. But I would encourage people to start, if you do not already have any familiarity with the Juniper.device, there are some nuances that I'm going to talk about today, things to become familiar that are different than how you would have managed your content around Juniper networks. Nothing too significant, but there are some things that would prevent your playbooks from running. So there's some good, knowledge base of, tips and things that I'll share today. The warning here is like moving into like, as we go next year into 2027, you'll start seeing deprecation warnings and reminders like, hey, you really need to start using Juniper.device and move away from the Juniper networks, but your content will still, continue to work. It just becomes annoying, like, many of the other notices that you'll see when you run your playbooks, either from, Ansible Core engine command line or from Ansible Automation Platform. In that standard output, you'll see that, these features and collections are deprecated, that type of thing. However, you really need to address the content and start refactoring to the what we call the namespace or the fully qualified collection names for Juniper.device prior to April 2028, because that's when this whole notion of being able to leverage either one of the collections goes away, and there's no redirecting in the Juniper device if you use the older naming scheme or the older namespace. Because if you didn't install Juniper Networks, you could use juniper.device today, and all of those same modules are available if you call them, based off of the updated, fully qualified collection name. So that would mean if you had old playbooks, you have to go through and rewrite those. So to avoid that, if you have the Juniper Networks installed, you can continue to leverage that, along with a couple other nuances that I'll table for now, because it makes more sense to show those things to you in the actual playbooks in the demo. So that way it'll be more clear for folks. Okay, so moving a little bit deeper into the requirements. So if you're using Ansible Core Engine, normally you're, unless you've pinned that, you're upgrading, to like whatever the latest version is, or installing to the latest version. When you're using execution environments and automation platform, then those versions of Ansible Core, if you don't set them when creating the execution environment, are really just depending on what version of RHEL is the base image for your execution environment. So yours may be older and not 2.16. So in my example, I didn't go to the latest greatest. I went to like 2.18, which is pretty stable, and it meets the requirements. The same thing with your Python. Some of those are like 3.9 still. If it was an older RHEL that you're creating that execution environment on. So they recommend, obviously, it needs to be at least 3.10, but it's recommended to use 3.11 or newer, just because you would have less other issues with the Python itself. And then PyEZ, right? So this is where we get into an area where juniper.device works differently than juniper.networks.junos, in the sense than how it's leveraging other Python dependencies and modules to actually connect to your targeted devices. So when you get under the hood of how SSH is being managed, when you're running the Juniper networks, you're using the same netcommon netconf for connecting to the device with netconf, and netconf managing that underlying SSH. But when you're using Juniper device, you're using the PyEZ. So it's doing the same thing. You still have a netconf in play to connect to Juniper, and using whatever that netconf port is, whether it's the default 840 or if you've changed it to something else. That whole negotiation and connection is orchestrated through this Python library. So if that doesn't exist in your execution environment, then it won't work. So one of the things in mind is, even though collections typically install these things, with this one, just to be careful, and I think I had some problems in the past, I'm calling it out. I'm explicitly saying, install 2.7.3 or newer, for the PyEZ. So when I connect, I won't have any issues in that regard. Other Python dependencies are more under the hood, and the collection does handle those for you. So it'll load these things without you explicitly needing to list it out in a requirements.txt or directly, in the parameters of your execution environment. One that is optional, that's pretty cool for the Juniper device collection, is the JS or JS Snappy. I think that's how you say it. That one is very familiar to folks that are doing like validation testing. And it's a cool feature in many ways. It's a lot like other vendors too, like PyATS from Cisco, where it's sort of the same concept, where you're creating these tests to do validation. So you're calling like these various YAML files into your playbook to do testing, which would essentially replicate what you would normally do, like with show commands and things like that. And you're really just looking, for operational state types of things to be true or false. So that one needs that this particular library if you're going to use that feature. So I installed that as well. So those are the main things, and then I'll show you like how I did that in my execution environment. But really, again, just to recap, the reason why we're doing this is Juniper wants to maintain both of these collections, so there's no misunderstandings or duplication with how we had it at Red Hat. and them, maintaining two different collections. So they become the one authoritative namespace, and that'll happen over time. And then a lot of this is based off of the PyEZ capabilities in their collections, and then them, bringing like all these other modules into the fold. This will help, them create releases quicker and things like that, and less regression testing, and less, things, complications and confusion in the field where folks are trying to use both of these collections at the same time. So that'll help them, long-term future-proof in the sense that they'll be able to create a pipeline and update quicker and make more features available directly to our certified collections with the Ansible automation platform. So it's really good for everybody. It's just, certain things that we have to address. So one of those things would be, how do I use this content? So this is not a Juniper thing. This is just an Ansible execution environment thing, where the out-of-the-box execution environments do not include the juniper.device. So you may have noticed that if you use like the default execution environment in Ansible Automation Platform, you already have access to Juniper Networks. Now, it'll be a certain version of that collection depending on the base image. So you'll have like a rel base image. So in my example here, you can see that it's this one here, right? So this, and that shouldn't have went like over that part, but it's really just a rel 9. And this is, supported rel image to create the execution environment. And then I have dependencies. So if I don't set these dependencies, I get the defaults. And I mentioned earlier, one of the defaults that I didn't want is I wanted a newer Ansible Core. I didn't want a 2.15 or whatever from like this earlier version of rel. And I also wanted a newer Python. I didn't want 3.9. So you can do that here in the actual YAML file and explicitly, update certain packages and things like that. Or you can call it more generically from a file. So for the actual collection, to get the two collections, the juniper.device and the Juniper networks, then I'm using this requirements.yaml, which is over here. And you'll notice that in this requirements.yaml that I'm reading in, here I'm saying just give me the latest version of juniper.device. So if you do that today, that's going to be a version 2.0 or maybe 2.01 if they've updated it. The reason why I had to explicitly put a version here include this version here for the Juniper networks is I'm already getting that because of this base image, but it was an older version. So instead of 11.1.1, I was getting like a 9.8 or something like that, right? So I needed to override. So when you create these requirements files, it overrides whatever the defaults were from this, just like we've overridden defaults in here. And then I'm continue to override versions by explicitly, calling them out in this requirements.yaml. This last piece here is requirements.text. So this is different. This is not collections. This is Python files. So this is very much like how you pip install directly, for Python installations and Python libraries and all that kind of stuff on your virtual environments and whatnot. So in an execution environment, I'm doing the same thing. I'm saying, give me the latest Junos EZ NC, and then also the JS Snappy. So I'm explicitly saying pull them in so I have those capabilities, and then I should be good to go. So all this is really just becoming a container, and you can create this in Podman, or you can use the Ansible Builder utility that we provide. And that would work the same if you were using our Ansible Navigator command line or using the Ansible automation platform. You would create, that container that's called as you're running a playbook, and there's an Ansible runner, and all that's orchestrated for you as part of running a playbook. So I believe, one last thing here. So what I wanted to show here, and I'll show this again in the demo, is I'm validating in my execution environment that I'm pulling in to my automation platform that I have these versions. And I'll show you how I do that in the platform in the demo. But this is what I wanted, is I have this Juniper device 2.0.2 and Juniper networks 11.1.1. So I have both of those available, so I can call either one of them in the playbook and show you some of the different options and permutations of using this combined one or calling like the existing modules, and how they continue to work the same way using Juniper networks. So I think that was everything. Yeah, so